Me&My Health Up. I'm your host, Anthony Hartcher. I'm a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. The purpose of this podcast is to enhance and enlighten your well-being. And today you have me doing that just for you. And we're talking about colds, flus, and how they can be beneficial to your well-being. I've recently had a bout of a flu or some virus or bacteria that certainly overwhelmed me for a period of time. And you've probably noticed from previous episodes that have just been released that, yes, I was a bit under the weather. However, it was a real learning experience and an educational experience for me, and also a great reset. So I just wanted to share with you some of the health benefits that come from having the common cold or flu. We often think of the common cold as flu as a setback or a negative because I can't function like I would, or I miss opportunities, and we focus and dwell on the negative side of having a cold and flu. However, I took the opportunity to look at the other side. I wanted to balance my perception of the cold and flu and see it as it is, and be grateful for having the flu or the bacteria or whatever overwhelm me for a period of time in my life. And yes, I'm coming off the other side, and so I'm on the increase. However, I've still got some of slight symptoms of cold and flu. My voice isn't quite the usual voice, and I'm still a bit blocked up in some way, and my energy levels are rebuilding. So I'm in the rebuilding phase, but certainly on the upward trend, which is great because I was certainly knocked around for a period of time. So let's start with some of the benefits of having the cold and flu. And it's probably worthwhile me sharing what's actually going on with the cold and flu, and how these bacteria and viruses interact with us. And so it really begins with our immune defenses, and having our immune defenses robust in order to not get sick too often. But the sickness that we do experience, there's an upside to it because it puts our immune system into function. It gets it turning over. It gets it working or efficiently eventually once it overcomes the virus or the bacterial infection. However, initially our system is a bit overwhelmed, and hence why we experience the signs and symptoms of the flu. And I'll probably focus on the flu because it does knock us around a bit more, and that generally comes from a viral infection. And so viruses are out there all the time. They're invisible. And so they're like a invisible aspect that we can't see. However, our body's constantly defending them off. And sometimes you hold them off, or you stop them from overwhelming your immune system. And other times your immune system's overwhelmed, and that's when you experience the signs and symptoms. And as you know, around flu symptoms, it's very much that fever response. And that fever response is actually it's part of a defense mechanism against the virus. It wants to elevate the body temperature so the virus replication is slowed down. So it's actually healthy being able to maintain a fever. However, it's when the fever gets out of control and we lose control of the elevated body temperature, that's when it can become quite dangerous for us. But if we're able to maintain, I guess, an elevated body temperature, but it's not escalating and continuing to escalate at an accelerated rate, then we don't need to intervene. And so it's actually good to sit with a temperature. And the other thing you'll notice is that your heart rate increases. I certainly notice that through my Aura Ring. And that is obviously the body working hard to defend itself, pumping around the blood, getting the lymphocytes around to obviously fend off the virus. And so the virus will enter our system. We have first line defense, which is our mucous membranes, which is saliva. And we have obviously our skin, which is a first line of defense. However, if our first line of defense and our white blood cells that are in that defense area, if they get a bit overwhelmed, and the reason why they might get a bit overwhelmed is that we've been very busy. So periods of ongoing stress will downregulate the immune system. So that downregulation of the immune system can make you more susceptible to getting sick. And I certainly had a busy period, and I was busy with work and also busy actively. So I would have had, I guess, a immune system that might not have been so robust to keep this viral infection away. I was generally sleeping well, however, very active, very busy with work, and I was overwhelmed by the virus. And the thing about viral infection is when we look at our human DNA, it's actually made up of 8 to 10% of viral components. And so when I reflect on that, I'm thinking,